so many ideas going on in this project, but it's just the start.
Good design is all about creating that moment of bliss.
This is really also the hospitality and the tourism of tomorrow.
This is what we want to show.
We have created something which blends into the environment, and the house itself is basically seamless.
Imagine you were able to just teletransport.
You are on your own island in the center of Amsterdam.
I think you have to go there to believe it.
JKMM Architects are the winners of the Civic and Community category in this year's awards for a wonderful library in Finland, which they're about to present. Welcome.
Thank you. Greetings from the very nice weather in Helsinki. Getting a bit chilly and dark here. So nice to be here and get this far, and I'm going to talk about Kirkkonummi Library. And actually, I will first explain you the context, that this is not just about the library, but how they build a new heart for a small city. So this city, Kirkkonummi, is about half an hour west from Helsinki. And what they have in the middle of the city is, you can see in the left, is a medieval church, and then on the right, this new library project. But what they are doing in the next years is that they are totally rebuilding the center of the city. And I think what is nice about their decision is that they decided to make the key public buildings, the library and the church was there already, and the market square, to finish them first and then start building the new blocks to make the center of this small city. So now they have the church as the heart of the city, and then the library as the brains of the city, so to say, completed. And what's interesting about this project, it is actually a recycling project in a bigger sense, that there's a 1980s library building inside, and you can see the line in the middle, that was the starting point, that there's this not a protected building. We had to wrap around it, actually, that we started to make an addition to the north, and then one step by step we went and renewed the south side, and then it turned out that it was in a bad shape in the west, so we totally had to swallow with the new architecture the old architecture. But this led to this unexpected situation that there's a strange logic inside this building, that it's not a vision, typically what you do with modern architecture, that you have a clear, clean solution, but we had to start with a very complex situation and then somehow unify it with the new architecture. So this is the main entrance with the church and going to the library. And you can see the floor plans, that it's even a bit difficult to say that what is the old parts. And so, because we did the total renovation of most of the old parts, so there it gets even more difficult to say what is new and what is old. And there's 3 entrances to the different parts of the city opening, so it connects to all directions of the city. And everything in the facade, in the drawings, is actually very simple. So there's basically very simple solutions for the openings. And then we go on top of the old building as well. And this is clad in copper, because we chose copper because that is the same material as in the roof of the medieval church. So that to connect with the material to the surroundings and make a permanent building in terms of being a public building for the next 100 years. So here we are on the side of the park. The park is still under construction on the right, and then you have the main reading room behind these vertical louvers of the library. So it gives it the indirect light, but it doesn't open the view directly to the park, but more as a light source, lantern. And here we see the one entrance for the public some activities, because this is actually not really a library only, but it's more like a multifunctional building. So it has many different activities for the community and for the city. In a way, it's a bit like a living room for the citizens, but the focus is on how to deliver knowledge in any form. So it's not about the books, but about activities and people meeting each other. So this is the main facade towards the church, and you can see the openings used to be windows, smaller ones in the old building, but then we made them larger and then made them into gateways. So you cannot tell that there was an old building inside. So this is looking at towards the cafeteria and the terrace. And we developed the facade system of the copper that it's a bit like shingle or has a reference to maritime imagery of nets. And it has a specific system of ventilation. And so it's a bit like developing a product out of the copper shingle system. And all the entrances are so that you never really see the door. So there's a space like in a bit like in old buildings, that there's a bit like a sacred space, intermediate covered space before you go in. So that is why it also acts as a light source when you enter the building, all these openings. And inside, this is actually old space, but all the surfaces are new, and you can see that there's a artwork which is actually also working as a lamp or ceiling structure in between the stage, in between the space, and that is has a reference to the reeds in the seashore. And we designed all the lamps in this project, for instance, and all the fixed furniture. So we had a chance to make a total integration of not just the architecture, but also go to the interior design and designing light fixtures. And there's quite an unexpected detailing in many cases, because there were so many unexpected corners. And in library, it's basically like a very big lounge filled with different kind of lounge type of spaces. So that's why also the acoustic requirements were pretty high for the ceilings and for the walls. And also we designed the furniture for the library in itself. So you can see that the gateways and the shelves and the seating, they are integrated. So there is no borderline between the architecture and when it becomes furniture. And then there's some special design for the children in the children's area, like this. And this is, then there's a public meeting space in the middle of the library. So this is the heart where they can arrange different events, like a speakers forum or something like that. So this was a bit different project for myself and our office too, that was not, it was not such a big library or monumental project, but more like just took actually many years because there was a postponement of the project, and so we had to design every corner, and it seemed like it's going on forever. And this is when you go to the second level, then there's actually like a leftover space which we made into a roof terrace. So this is actually on top of the old building, and then in order to complete the space, we made this kind of open space, that opening to the sky. So this is something that makes a special space for the summer next to the reading rooms. And the structure is made of concrete elements. So we use the same structure for the glass wall and the ceiling and the inside wall. So that becomes brings the space together in a way that there's only structure visible. And here you can see the detailing of that. And then there's these the brass elements are joining together the concrete elements, so that it becomes also like a decorative element that's the same language as the lamps. And finally, there's the video that shows, it was actually shot last winter when it was -20 degrees, and it gives us a special atmosphere because there's no people because of COVID, but there's just the empty library. And it didn't used to open towards the church, but now you can see that this reading space is really looking at the medieval church. So the view of the church is taken into the library. And there becomes a strong link between the library inside space and the medieval church. There's the scale of the kids in some of the spaces. And here you can see how this one facade is giving indirect light to the space. And that there's a big a long reading table for the people to focus, and this is a more quiet reading space.
I think we need to close now.
Okay. Yeah, I think we are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lovely project. Kim Nielsen, fellow Scandinavian. How do you respond to that?
Oh, it's breathtaking. I must say it's a beautiful project, and it's so banal, but the way that you get this very simple project to be a fantastic masterpiece, I think it's amazing, and it's so Finnish. In a way, if I just saw the project and didn't know where it was done, I would say probably done in Finland. So you hit something from national in the architecture. But I have one question, and it has to do probably with the attitude in Finland as well. You said there was 3 entrances, so there are 3 ways you can get in and out. Is there no way of controlling if anybody goes away with books or what? How is it? It's just open.
Yeah, it's all electronic. And actually, when the client said that there's 3 entrances, my first reaction was that it's a bad idea. But then, they didn't never gave up that idea, and I was thinking that okay, the starting point is really difficult in any case, so why not accept the additional complexity and just do it? And because we were not really in control of the requirements in any case, so I think this was just an interesting test that how can we improvise something out of this very strange starting point.
Thank you very much. Abdelkader.
Well, it's really a beautiful project. I did appreciate the quality of the spaces, and also this idea of to have a three entrance is a very interesting and innovating way of dealing with architecture, because usually architecture is like a monumental and a dictatorial thing in a way, because it guides you from a way to another one. And the way to give the public, the users 3 possibilities is very, very beautiful. And I really, really appreciate this. My question is just, now when people use the building, do they you were talking about a community building, so used as a living room for all the people? It's
Yes,
not
I
just
think
the
it's-
library.
Yeah, it is for, this is like the only public building that's really open for everybody. Like if you don't go to church, which is not really open all the time, shopping centers, you have to buy something. They can walk in and go to the cafeteria and spend time or play music or study or do research, or the kids come in or the youth, and then there's an exhibition, and they have info point. So it is really quite central to the people, how they use it, and that's why it's quite popular. And there was actually in the design phase, this was a bit, yeah, okay.
Christina.
Hi, I've studied this building quite a bit because we're doing a library in Kenya, and we were looking very much at the uses of libraries as they're changing. And I love the reading room and the tectonic aspect of the concrete and reading against the glass. So it's a beautiful project. So congratulations. One of the things that is really apparent with libraries and this day and age, this electronic day and age, is, and we were asking ourselves the same question in Kenya, where people don't have access to computers like we do in the West. And actually, this whole question of theft of books was encouraged. They wanted people to steal the books and take them home. But one of the things that we were struggling with or thinking about is, what does it mean? Is it a community center? Is it a place for people to come and dance? Is it a place for people to come and mingle? Is it a place for people to study? Is it for young families? Is it for the students? And there were all these different aspects that we were asking ourselves and speaking to educators and parents and governors and you name it. How did you manage, you and the client? Was the client very specific about the brief and what they wanted to do? Did the library already exist, or was this a new library? And how did that all come about? How do you reconcile the changing nature of a library and a community, and how do you make that work together as a community space?
Yeah, I think the client was very specific about that, because they had a certain, they are responsible for the educational budget and then youth budget and elements which are in the city budget. And then they have certain people working there, and then they just bring all of these different operations of the city together, and then they say that, okay, we are not going to build another youth house next door, or black box small space for music, but we're going to put it here. And then that is like a operation of the city itself. And so, but the head librarian was already in charge in the 80s. So this was before she retired, her last work in some ways.
Thank you. Nuno.
Yeah, very, very beautiful building. We also do quite some libraries, and we also looking at this building, so we know it quite well. It's quite beautiful that although small, there's still a lot of diversity of spaces in the interior. They have the reading room. There is still a lot of diversity inside, and we know the importance of this of libraries in Scandinavia as being kind of the new meeting place for the cities, especially for small cities. I have no big questions about it. It's quite beautiful. It's a pity that with COVID now you don't have videos and in pictures with people on the library using it. So I think it will add a layer to it that will be very interesting to see.
Thank you very much indeed. I rudely interrupted part of your answer to an earlier question. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on what you were saying?
Yeah, I think probably most things are covered, but I think this was an interesting journey in terms of what is the creative process, that there's not like vision forward, but what if you take this kind of risk that you follow this kind of framework that you didn't invent, and how can you put it together? So I think personally, I think this is a nice dangerous learning process for architecture, making architecture like this. In most cases, I think I've been doing it in a different way.
Well, it's produced a delightful result. Congratulations again, and many thanks for your time today.
Yes, thank you.